Hey Credit Warriors, Credit Shifu here, and I have here with me none other than the Travel Ninja, Alan Shear.
Well, let's call me Alan for now.
Well, I think you chose your fate as the Travel Ninja a few videos back.
The Travel Ninja was the only name that kind of made sense.
And you complained about your little picture, I think. What did you say about it?
Well, let's pull it up, and then I want to see what people say in the comments, what they think this image looks like. I had a big, well, just I asked around, and a lot of people were saying one thing, and maybe you guys can guess what you thought when you saw this picture.
Okay, but anyway, you want us to change the color of the clothing, right?
Yeah, I want to be like the white ninja in G.I. Joe's.
Okay.
We'll
try. We'll see if we can do that for you next time. Anyway, let's get right into this video. Now, I know you went to the Maldives a few months ago, didn't you?
Right. I proposed to my girlfriend. I call it the pre-honeymoon.
Okay, cool. And many of our viewers, when you think of the Maldives, you may be used to seeing these like very luxurious resorts like the St. Regis Maldives that we have on the screen behind us that cost a huge amount of money.
Yes.
But actually, you managed to do it much cheaper than that, and you're going to tell us why. 10 points of how to save money in the Maldives. Okay, so let's go. So the first point, I believe, is about seaplanes.
Right. So the Maldives is not just a small island change. We're talking about several hundred miles long.
Okay.
Dozens of islands. So most resorts actually will require a transfer by seaplane. Now, this is considered one of the coolest parts of the Maldives experience, but the price isn't that cool because it's usually around $500 up to $1,000 just for one person. So that will add a lot more money to
like a hotel for the night, isn't it?
Well, a night or 2 nights or 3 nights, depending on where you're staying. So yeah, what I instead recommend is staying closer to one of the airports. Mainly Mal is the main international airport. You can get a speedboat transfer for probably around $50, $75, $100 per person, depending on
more affordable.
Depending on how far you are, exactly. Yeah.
We're here. It's paradise.
When you're booking the hotel, make sure you read the fine print. It will say speedboat transfer or whatever. You got to read that because not only will you need a transfer, you might need to fly to another domestic airport within the country because it's that far. So you might need to fly and then take a seaplane. It's a very complicated process. So where you stay in the Maldives is very important to how much money you're going to spend.
But the main point is that you can save money by avoiding a seaplane. That's kind of the main point of it.
And honestly, you can stay close to Mal because every one of the islands is beautiful. Yeah.
Well, our second point is about meals, isn't it? About meals and accommodation plans. Tell us about that.
Right. So if you guys are used to staying in resorts, you might understand terms like full board, half board, all inclusive, and basically most of the resorts on the Maldives are going to have this, and it's very important because in the Maldives, when you go to a hotel, the hotel owns the entire island, so you can't really go off the resort to go get food or anything. So there will be plans, and that will affect how much money you're going to spend. Half board usually means like breakfast or breakfast and lunch.
Okay.
Full board will include all your meals. Full board all inclusive also includes maybe drinks, some water sports activities, whatever. I usually don't really recommend doing this, but in the Maldives specifically, because you're stuck on these islands, I would recommend looking for a place that gives you all-inclusive options.
Okay.
Now, obviously, there are going to be other restaurants on most of these islands. You might have 2, 3, 4 different options, depending on how big the island is. So you can go try those out, but in general, you're going to save a lot of money.
And so now that brings us to your next point, which is about water, isn't it?
Right. So in the Maldives, there are really strict environmental laws that says that any hotel that opens up must produce their own water and not just take from the very limited natural water sources on these islands.
Okay.
So that means the larger islands have desalination plants, but most of the smaller resorts have to ship in water. So water becomes a premium, and you can end up paying $5 per bottle of water, and we all need to drink. So one plan that you could possibly do is when you get to the airport is buy some bottled water at the grocery store. I know it doesn't really fit the luxury lifestyle, but I think it just makes sense to pay $1 for a liter of water instead of $5 or $10.
A lot cheaper than buying it at the hotel.
And it's just not water. It's also there's other things you might want to worry about, like hygienic products for the ladies, or like if you have over-the-counter medicine you need to bring. Although you're going to be in very luxurious environments, you're still staying on a tropical desert island.
And there might not be a grocery store, right?
There might not be a grocery store.
Hotel owns the whole island.
And if there is one, it's going to be pretty expensive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Price discrimination, economics 101.
Right.
Now let's go to your next point, which I believe is about hotels, hostels and other hotels that are cheaper than the larger Western-run resorts.
Right, exactly. So this is kind of a new thing, but the Maldives have become more open to independent travelers, as in travelers who are not staying in giant resorts. So a lot of the local islands actually have hotels, hostels, guest houses, and you're seeing actually backpackers come to the Maldives, usually coming up from India or Sri Lanka. Okay. And again, you go to the Maldives for the beaches, and every one of these islands are beautiful. They do a really good job of protecting their environment there. So like
that's
a lot
their
of the
main product, isn't it? The
Yeah,
tourism
yeah.
industry. Well, let's talk about the price you paid for the hotel you were in.
So we paid for our hotel was over $300 a night. We went with an all-inclusive package, and we also went with Overwater Bungalow.
Overwater Villa, right?
Yes, that was one of my bucket lists. So I was like, I got to stay in one of these.
And this was locally run.
This was a locally run company. Yes.
So we just had a look on the St. Regis website at their new resort that's on the screen behind us, Overwater Villa. Not even this big one here, but just one of the standard ones.
Yeah.
It costs $1,450 per night.
Yeah.
Only with breakfast, not with full board, just with breakfast.
Well, I wonder what full board. Full board could be an additional $200-300.
They might not even do full board. You might have to just,
exactly.
Dine in. And obviously, you can see the island behind. There's not much civilization on it, so the only dining options are either their restaurant or some other very expensive restaurant on that island.
Yes.
So, doing what you did, it's definitely a great way to save quite a bit of money and have an experience that isn't that much different from that luxury Western brand.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the end, you're going to pay for what you get, but once you reach a certain level, the pay thing gets exponentially higher. You know? So there is a sweet spot for most people that could be a little cheaper, I think.
Definitely. Yeah. Cool. And so our next point is booking a mix of resorts, not just necessarily staying in the same place all the time.
Right. So I met a lot of people that were pretty familiar with the Maldives. They go there a lot of Europeans because it's closer for them. And what they actually do is they don't stay in one island. They will stay in a bunch of different islands throughout their trip. Yeah. But like for instance, you could book a night at the Regis because look at these rooms. They're amazing. And then maybe you can spend like another 5 days at different cheaper resorts, maybe more family-friendly ones rather than these more very remote kind of islands, and that way you kind of get a fuller experience because again,
and it's cheaper.
It's cheaper, and also you will get crazy if you stay on the same island for an extended period of time. So it's better to change the scenery a little bit.
Cool. And our next point, which is linked to this, was booking a mix of rooms, isn't it?
Yes, booking a mix of rooms. Like again, you should, if you go to the Maldives, I recommend you stay at a Overwater Bungalow. But the thing is, you only need to stay there for like 1 or 2 days. You don't need to stay there for
just to get the experience
the entire time. Yes, and here's why you have to stay. Most of these private islands owned by these corporations, they have their own house reefs. So they either build reefs or there have been reefs, and they encourage these beautiful sharks, turtles and manta rays that swim straight up to the bungalow. So at nighttime when you go out of your bungalow, there's just an ocean full of fish feeding and doing whatever right underneath you. So
and is it dangerous to swim there? Can you swim?
They recommend you not to swim when the fish are feeding, but they're like too small to really hurt you.
So not to swim at night?
Yeah, but
you can swim in the day?
Well, you can swim during the day, and the sharks are like, this
they wouldn't
long.
Bite you.
Yeah. The turtles are really, I think, the coolest part. But
so we're talking about just staying at an Overwater Bungalow for maybe 1 or 2 nights. What's the other option for another kind of room?
So at the place I was staying, if you booked early, you could get a beautiful beach bungalow, which is for I think just a little over $100.
$100, so 1/3 of the price.
Maybe $150 with all inclusive. I mean that is.
So we're talking half an already cheap price.
What is the average hotel in New York? I mean a 3-star business hotel.
At least.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So you're talking about really cheap prices.
Yeah.
Actually, reasonable prices.
Wow. Okay, so have your 1 or 2 nights experience in the Overwater Villa, and then maybe go for a beach villa that's cheaper, or even a room.
100%. Yeah.
All right, what's our next point, Alan? I think it's talking about the high and low season, when to go.
Right. So generally, I am an off-season traveler. I don't mind the rain. I hate crowds, and I like cheaper prices. I don't like having to book ahead because rooms are running out. But the Maldives kind of is very dependent on weather. You don't want to go during the monsoon season, which is May and August.
We might have to delay our plans a little bit because look at this, guys. Oh yeah. It's extremely beautiful still. I think that's what you get when you come here in the low season, which is how we usually travel. You're gonna swimming suit the entire time anyway. All right. A few minutes later, the rain has stopped, and that is just what it's like during the rainy season. It's basically sunny again.
So what I do recommend is if you can't afford to go during the summertime, which is between December and April, choose the shoulder season, which is around, I think it would be November, September, October, right?
Okay.
And what you're going to have is maybe 1 or 2 days of rain, but you'll have probably sunny, cloudy days, and that won't ruin your experience, but you'll have much lower prices.
All right, now we've got our next point, which is to book ahead, isn't it?
Right. I mean, booking ahead, my general rule is if you're going to go somewhere expensive that's crowded, at least 3 months ahead.
Okay.
Also with flights as well. The Maldives, I would say, add another 3 months to that because it is just a very desirable place to be. You know, so especially if you're going to book during the high season, I recommend even up to a year ahead.
Wow.
Because you're going to get much better prices. For example, my room cost $300. So one night when I was there, I got a knock on the door, and they were like, "Hey, do you want to go on a private yacht, 80-foot yacht, for like overnight trip? We'll take you, fishing and snorkeling on a private island." I'm like, yeah. What's the catch? He's like, well, the catch is you have to check out of your room. So I went on this beautiful yacht. There were only 2 other couples on there. We had like servants and everything, and I go like, what's the deal? Why are they doing this for us? I was like, well, I heard rumors that they sold our rooms. We all had the overboard bungalows for over $1,000 a night.
Wow.
To last minute people.
Last
So
minute travel,
that
wow.
is the difference. I mean, you're talking about 3-4 times the amount of what you could pay if you just plan it. So I don't really like to plan that much, but with the Maldives, you gotta plan ahead. Don't try to last minute it because you're gonna pay. You're gonna pay a lot of money for that.
Okay. And our next point, which is our 9th point, is about travel aggregator sites. What's your recommendation with that?
So in general, I always recommend travel aggregators because you're just gonna get more options. Agoda is one of the sites that I like looking at, and also if you do speak another language, for instance, if you're Chinese, you might be able to find some exclusive Chinese deals because, I mean, like a lot of Chinese people go to the Maldives.
Okay.
So look around. Don't just use your normal hotel booking sites.
But what was the one you booked with, Agoda?
I usually use Agoda for a lot of my stuff. I just find that their prices are pretty good.
Cool.
Pretty good.
And our last point is about combining the Maldives trip with another trip in the local area, isn't it?
Right, exactly. If you find yourself in, if you booked a trip to Europe or the Middle East, or if you're in India or Sri Lanka or even closer, your trip to the Maldives all of a sudden becomes really cheap because a lot of the price has to deal with the flight ticket, and most people fly into the Maldives from the Middle East, India, and Sri Lanka, and also Europe is a little cheaper than it would be from the United States as well. So if you do that along with maybe $100 a night at a really nice beach bungalow, you're looking at a pretty cheap trip compared to...
Where did you do? You did your trip from India, right?
Yes, I was in India, so I was like, well, I'd actually been to Sri Lanka a few years ago, and I didn't go to the Maldives, and I kicked myself for it because I didn't realize how cheap it was to fly from there. But yeah, my flight from India was maybe $150.
Okay,
so yeah.
If you're in India or if you're in the area, you could consider a trip to the Maldives.
Dubai, if you're in Dubai, there are a lot of flights coming from there.
You could consider it while you're there. You have the chance, and you might regret it if you don't, and you can use some of the tips in this video to make your trip cheaper and just get an all-around better deal. Well, thank you so much, Alan, for coming and talking to us.
Yeah, thanks, man.
And I really want to go to the Maldives now, too.
I think we all should go to the Maldives. There is this conception that the Maldives is sinking, and it is sinking.
Well, sea level's rising, isn't it?
Sea level is rising and the islands are sinking, but while I was there, so the owners of the hotel, they were actually building their own island a few hundred, like maybe a dozen miles away. And what's really popular in the Maldives is they dredge sand from the bottom of the ocean and build islands. So
no need to worry.
They're going to be fine. More. They're going to be fine, but they might be more artificial islands rather than the original ones. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please subscribe if you're new, and if you like this kind of content, this kind of travel content with our very own Travel Ninja, please leave a comment. We're seriously considering doing a lot more of this travel type of content.
Sure. We both travel a lot. We both travel a lot. I think we should.
So leave a comment if you want that. As always, give this video a like, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Ready? Yes, I'm ready. Do it.